Welcome to the Gals Guide to the Galaxy podcast, where a group of gals gather for you one cool thing around our topic of the month. Is it ancient history? Is it breaking news? Is it safe for work? Well, that's up to each gal. All we know is that...
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Welcome back. I'm Katie, and I'm joined by Bonnie, Leah, and Rebecca talking about our one cool environmental gal. Leah already talked about Marjorie Stoneman Jackson.
Douglas. Stoneman Douglas.
I put Jackson.
It's Jackson if you're
with
nasty.
me?
But it's Douglas.
Okay. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas.
Yes.
I think our audience knows me, so I'm not even starting over.
You're like, I'm not even going to go again. No.
I'm ready to mess up the next one.
Do it.
Bonnie already talked about Inga Lehman.
Yep.
What?
Close enough.
Say that right. And Rebecca shared with us about Deb Holland.
Yes.
Yay.
I was waiting for you to like
write
add
that
an
one
extra
down.
last name or something like
I
that.
didn't even write that one on my paper. That's probably why I got it right.
You had it. Look at that. Love it.
But before I talk and share with you my one cool gal,
Yeah.
I want to know something interesting about you guys. And it kind of ties into my gal. So my question is, do you remember or did you have a favorite childhood tree? Or it can be in adulthood.
Right, exactly. Or if you can be like Rebecca just begged.
I've extended the parameters of the question.
I appreciate that.
See, I got super excited as soon as you said that you were going to talk about childhood
you
tree.
had an instant reaction.
Oh, excited. Okay,
Tell
so like
me.
when I was little, I didn't sunburn as much.
Yeah.
So I could go outside. Where I would sunburn is on the water. I would get like
Yeah.
blisters on the water. I had this there's this adorable picture of me. I'm probably like 4 years old and I have this huge sun blister on the side of my face. And I'm like, what the hell happened? They're like, oh, we went on a boat.
Aw.
Like, so when I was little, I wouldn't
Yeah,
sunburn as
yeah.
much, but I would blister if it was really bad.
Reflections from the water.
So I would actually like play outside, and I had a favorite tree, and it was let's see if I can describe a tree. It was a branched out kind of fork tree, but it was low to the ground. So it was one where I could kind of like sit in the fork of the chair like it was a recliner.
Oh,
So I loved that. And it had two branches, and of course I had a younger brother, so he could climb one branch, I could climb the other. So it was kind of like a fair tree to us. It wasn't too high off the ground. It kind of went out instead of directly up. And it was a good all-weather tree, and I love that tree. Sorry, I got all excited. But yes, that was my tree in Michigan. Probably the only good thing in Michigan.
Your tree.
That freaking tree.
Aw.
And we made we made it into a fort. We would put blankets over it, made it into like a little teepee and stuff like that. And it was too fun. I love that tree.
Yeah, Google Maps
I
and
love
see
it
if it's
too.
still there.
It is. My brother used to live in the same house. And it was there for the longest time. It lost a lot of branches in a tornado. He has since sold the house, so I don't know. But I mean,
It was.
it was
For a
still
long
there
time, yeah.
5 years ago. So
So does
yeah.
that mean that your nephews played in it?
Oh yes, absolutely.
No.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Love it.
Exactly.
How about you, Bonnie?
I was gonna say you're staring at me.
I'm just going.
No, I did have a
Quack.
tree when I was like 5, and I forget if I was in like after school care or just daycare for Earth Day. They gave us a little tree nubbin to plant. Like it wasn't like it didn't have dirt. It was like a
Stick.
like a bare root tree, and we
Nice.
planted it in the backyard. And I remember being very worried that the dog ate it.
Oh.
But she didn't. It was so small. It was hard to see from the house. So like I planted a tree, and the thing is like, it's pretty big now. I mean, it was like the trunk isn't like very thick, but it's really tall.
But it's a tall one. Yeah, there you go.
And
Yeah.
the neighbors had a tree that it was like leaning sideways. So this is like the only tree I've ever been able to climb because it's like
the sideways trees are the
Yeah.
best.
so we could get like halfway up the tree.
Go up the...
Yes.
Yeah, it was like sideways, and then it had little like branches going straight up, so we could just kind of walk up the tree.
Right. Chicane.
Yep.
Very cool. Now I definitely need to hear about Rebecca's favorite adult tree.
So
Yes.
there's a tree in my neighborhood that's the Kyle oak, and it's like 400 to 500 years old. maybe.
Oh my
At
God.
least 400 years.
Wow.
And it's like its own little enclosure. Right now it's my landscape picture on my Facebook page. And it's ginormous. So it's like really hard to see it because it's so big.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have to like kind of back up or get close or whatever. There's like all kinds of creative ways to kind of like take pictures of it or look at it. And it's just like the neighborhood like basically grew up around this tree because the neighborhood itself is like over 100 years old.
Right.
So this tree's been there a lot longer than that. And and then there are like, if you Google it, you can find like old pictures from the neighborhood and see different houses that have been around it over the years.
Right.
And it's preserved by, I think, like the Irvington, either Historic Society or Gardening.
Maybe the Arbor Society.
Yeah, Arbor Society or
Yeah.
something. And there's like all these like, well, not all, but there's a couple old signs that explain how big it is and how old it is and where it is. And so if that ever like follows, I'll be like devastated. But it's
Right.
also, and because it's so old, there's like the legend of like the fae folk might live
Yes.
in the tree because
Always.
it's such an old tree. And so anytime I hear about like another old oak tree, and there's a few other old oaks around Indianapolis that have been around for a really long time, like similar to that one. And then we were talking earlier about walking around to like get out of our houses to get out in nature or whatever. I've like just recently noticed like, oh, there's a big oak tree and there's a big oak tree.
Right.
And they're like just around the corner from me, but I've never noticed them before because our trees are all pretty young because it's just like
Newish.
yeah, my house
Yeah.
is like early 50s, so
Yeah.
they're not going to be
There you go.
not going to be like 400 years old, but there are a few in my direct area
that
so
they
it's-
kept. See,
yeah.
through all the housing and all that kind of good stuff.
Yep.
See.
Yeah.
Katie, what's your tree?
Oh, well, I've had a minute to think about this.
Yes.
And I feel, I don't want to draw it out too long, but I feel like all the emotionally important spots of my childhood, I have a tree there.
Oh.
Because I have the house I grew up in through elementary school, and there was a dogwood tree outside my window, and that's the tree that in the spring they blossom with white
Pink?
blossoms.
Okay,
that
what?
look
Yes.
beautiful. It could be white, it could be pinkish.
Yeah.
And it was right outside my bedroom window, so I was like, that's my tree. And you know how you feel coming out of winter, you're ready to see something pretty in the spring. So that was my favorite tree then.
Yes.
At my grandma's, there was, my granny's house had a great climbing tree.
Yes.
Because I didn't have any of those at my own house, so I was like, oh, always climbing
Climb
it
the
and climbing it. Yeah, absolutely. And then at my mammal's house, she had a ginkgo tree. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's the trees that have the leaves that look like fans.
Oh.
But they also have like fruit seeds that they'll drop. That if you step on them, they smell like vomit. I lived at my mammal's house. She moved out to go down to Madison
Yeah,
with
it
my
smells-
parents. Yes, it's
yeah,
terrible.
it's a weird-
disgusting.
like it shouldn't be in nature, but it is.
It's Cheeto barf
Yeah, it's
is the best I got.
It's
'Cause they're like
nasty.
bright orange. Yeah.
yeah.
Weird.
I think there are a couple of those downtown, maybe that they like. It's only it's seasonal when
Oh, yeah.
when that happens. But it's,
Well, and they
you
say
notice
like,
it.
oh, plant the male tree, and you won't have to worry about that. But they can change sexes.
Oh.
My grandma thought she got like the male tree.
Yeah,
but,
right,
you
'cause
know,
it's
there weren't any
survival.
other. Yeah. So
Oh, wow.
can't get away from it. They've planted a few here in Noblesville. I've noticed too. So
Oh,
I'm,
have
like,
they really? Oh,
waiting
great.
for all of us to have barf color.
Well, it's like if you
barf
step
smelling
on it
shoes.
and
Yeah.
you keep walking, and you're like, "What's that stink?
Oh,
Did I step
yeah.
in dog poop?" And
that's
it's
what
like,
that-
no, it's
okay.
a seed
From
or a
the seed, yeah.
berry or whatever it is.
My public service announcement, guys.
No, it's cool. It's cool. It's nature.
Absolutely.
See?
So, my cool gal I'm going to
Yeah.
talk about, I was researching on her and listening to like some interviews and conversations, and she says like the one thing that stands out about her is that she never lost that childlike wonder with the environment that lots of times adults do.
Gotcha.
So she
That
kind of feels
climbing
like
that
that
tree,
is her
yeah.
superpower.
Oh, yeah.
That, you know, as adults, maybe we don't notice nature as much. We have a lot we're doing, we're busy or whatever. But that she never lost that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be talking about Hope Jahren.
Yes.
She is our author for the book club this month. We're reading her book about climate change, called The Story of More.
Mm-hmm. Yay!
I've
I've already started it. I love it.
I was going to say, I really, really wanted to be done with it to talk about her today, and I'm maybe a third of the way done. So I
But
did
there's still
not
time for book
accomplish
club.
that.
Yeah, save it for book club.
I was telling everybody I'm going to wait till closer to time to finish my
So
reading.
it's fresh.
So it's fresh. But
I love it.
she's also the author of Lab Girl, which was hugely successful. Have you guys heard of that?
Yes.
It sounds familiar.
Yes, we have it at the library. I'm looking for the H's. It's well.
I don't know. We all have to be quiet and look
I know
with you.
exactly. It's directly behind me. There it is.
But this is her
There
story
she is.
of becoming a scientist, and it's part. Well, she said that she knew what professors do is they eventually start to write a book, right? Publish a book, publish what they've learned, what they've researched, what they've studied.
Give their wisdom to the world.
Give their wisdom to the world. But when she sat down to do that, she couldn't separate her own personal life, her own story, from what she's learned and what she has accomplished.
Which I think is really good. I think you need to have that.
Right.
I like both of them.
This book has gotten a lot of critical acclaim because of that, I think.
Yeah.
Like, it does educate you and open you to new ideas, but it's also a memoir.
Yes.
I'm talking like I've read it, and I totally want to read it now, but I have not read it. She talks about her own life, and she also talks about the challenges of living with depression and bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
And talks about it in the frank, straightforward way that she discusses all science.
Right.
So I really do
I
want to...
appreciate that authenticity. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Isn't she also from Minnesota?
She is!
Yes!
I meant to say that! It's another Minnesota in.
Another Minnesota.
Yes.
And she got out though, didn't she get? Oh, maybe
She
she's
did.
back in. I don't know.
No.
She
She's
left.
Out.
That's
She's
right.
out,
That's what
out.
you do. That's what you do. Sorry, Minnesota.
I think she embraces her Minnesota
yes,
heritage. Though.
I do too, but I also
Okay.
escaped.
So yes, she was born in Austin, Minnesota.
Sweet.
And the youngest of the family, 3 older brothers.
Gotcha.
And her father was a professor at the community college, and he was a science professor, a physics professor.
Nice.
So she literally grew
Science.
up going to the lab.
Yeah.
Like, she would just hang out. She said her earliest memories is are playing under the lab table, and then finally growing up tall enough that she could play on the lab table.
Oh.
So she's also a huge advocate of having more women in sciences.
Yes, please.
Yeah, totally. She's right there. And one of the things she talks about is how she thinks that she was able to get there because she felt comfortable in a lab.
Yeah.
And that's not something...
She grew up there.
Because she grew up there, but
Yeah.
that's not necessarily a lot of the experience other women and girls have.
Yeah.
So how important it is to, do outreach and get girls in the lab.
Yes, to feel comfortable and feel like they belong in the lab. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because she said, no matter what, she's always felt like that's where she belongs.
Yeah.
So...
Because
really
she saw
enjoy
it,
her.
so she could.
That's exactly
Damn it.
what I
Oh,
was
there you go.
thinking. Your
Nice.
favorite. If you can see it, you can be it. And I think for her, it was seeing it and then doing it.
Yeah.
Just like we're about to have our own STEM project coming up, the Raspberry Pi project.
Yes.
You have a super cute name. What is it?
It is the G2C2. It is the
G2C2.
It's the Gals Guide Coding Camp.
Right. So I mean, seeing it, but also as much as we can make hands-on
Yes.
opportunities happen, I think is really important.
Make the
too.
mistakes, make the experiment, see what the results are, do it again. Yes,
Get
it's
in there.
really important.
Absolutely. So, Hope is a huge advocate of that. She also is really straightforward with talking about sexual harassment within the science field
Good.
and what she's had to deal with. I believe she discusses it in Lab Girl.
Gotcha.
So that's part of it. So just being really frank and straightforward. She's very, a realistic person. I
Right,
think.
yeah. Pulling no punches.
Pulling no punches, right. Let me see. As far as her accolades,
Yeah.
you asked if she was still in Minnesota. No.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
She did
All right.
get her doctorate, so she's Dr. Hope.
Ah,
Jahren.
look at that, Doctor.
She got that from the University of California, Berkeley.
Oh, she went to Berkeley.
She went to Berkeley. Yes.
That.
And then after she worked, I think, as an assistant professor in Georgia.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what college.
Ooh, I also escaped to California and Georgia. I'm saying how much I like this girl already.
And then she spent a huge chunk of her time at Johns Hopkins.
Oh, Baltimore.
Yes, yes.
We have the Henrietta Lacks we've been talking about in
what I
book
thought
club.
about it.
Yeah.
And then from there, she went to Hawaii
Sweet.
with a full professorship, I believe, there. And then I thought this was really interesting. I've only read a third of the story of Moore. But she recently, within the last 2 years, went to Norway because she is concerned about the future of science in America,
Gotcha.
in the United States.
Yes.
About, the
especially these
investment
last
in it,
couple of
people
years.
taking it seriously.
Yeah.
The support for it. She's very concerned, so she has left the United States now.
Oh, gotcha.
Is
Look
that
at that.
so it's a
University of
permanent
Oslo.
move?
I don't know. She's
Or
at
at
the
least
University of
for now.
Oslo right now.
Gotcha.
But if she's publishing stuff in her book about how I'm concerned about science in America,
Yeah.
she must feel like it's somewhat permanent because I'm
Or at least feel like
I'm
she
led
can
to
do more
believe
work
a lot of this
somewhere else.
college professorship, correct me if I'm wrong, Rebecca, is somewhat politically motivated and definitely depends on reputation. And
Yeah, it can
so
be.
if you're like trash talking science in America,
Right, or if you feel like what your like beliefs are don't line up with where you're working, there's definitely reason to move on or find somewhere more in line with your own
Yeah.
ethics or morals or whatever you want to call that.
yeah,
Makes sense.
absolutely.
Plus, there's a lot of work that's happening in Norway, too, on climate change. So,
Well, and she's not originally like a scientist that's like, oh yeah, she's all about climate change or studying that. She's a geobiologist.
gotcha.
I don't know all of her different
Variations on the theme.
degrees
Right,
and different
yes.
things, but I know like what she wants to study are plants,
Oh, okay.
flowers, fossils of plants,
Cool.
that kind of thing. So she's won many awards, and some of those were to do with the breakthrough in dating different kinds of fossilized plants.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
If I'm understanding correctly.
Kind of like the carbon dating sort of thing, but for plants.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
neat. Okay, cool.
They analyzed the depletion of oxygen isotopes to determine the weather patterns that allowed large Meta sequoia forests to flourish during the Ecocene.
Oh, look at you getting all those words out.
I think
That was good, though. Good.
So it definitely has me wanting to read Lab Girl because a lot of the reviews are that she makes it very understandable, the science.
That's what and
And
exactly.
I'm literally reading that sentence to you from Wikipedia, so it shouldn't be that hard, but I'm still not sure. I
Right.
know what she does. But I'm definitely interested in hearing more. But as far as her research and her book on climate change, in the introduction, have you read this part yet where it was somebody that was in charge of her at the university, like her chair, came to her and said, we want you to teach a class on climate change. And she was like,
yeah.
no.
Right. No, I don't want to. No. Yes, I got there. Yeah.
Not into it. But in the book, she talks about how it is a really difficult topic to talk about.
But she dug in really hardcore, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. She's a scientist. She wants to deal with the numbers of it. But she talks about how, like, it's like telling people to stop smoking or to have a healthier lifestyle. We all know what we need to do.
We'll get to it.
But nobody wants to do it.
Hard.
And she felt like, who am I to preach about this? Like, I'm no, virtuous angel of recycling like Bonnie.
Yes, exactly. We can't all be a Bonnie on the recycling.
But then, like, she dives into it and finds it fascinating and has since written an entire book about it.
Yeah.
So it's super, super cool. And I'm looking forward to reading it with everybody in book club.
Yes,
For
exactly.
Sure.
See, I'm digging into the ironicness that, I mean, it's in the first couple of chapters, so I'm not really spoiling anything about. In Minnesota, she was in a pig farm town.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of one of those things where that's the main part of business. And then seeing how much feed, how much corn, how much everything goes into these pigs that are then, slaughtered for then our food consumption.
Yeah.
And so she uses that as an example of growing up and seeing how it's changed and depleted and, and also how there's more corn now, but yet the same amount of acreage.
Yeah.
So she talks
Pretty
about it in a
interesting,
very, down to earth kind of way.
approachable,
Yeah, it
for
really
sure.
is. I really am digging it.
And I think one of the craziest things to think about is just looking at the basic numbers we have enough food and resources for everyone in the entire world.
Right.
Nobody has to be starving.
Yeah.
It's how they are allocated.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And it's just, ugh.
Yeah, I know, right?
So I haven't gotten to the end of the book where I'm assuming she's going to talk about kind of personal responsibility and changes you can
Yes,
make.
and how we can all fix it.
And, you know, what we can do together.
But then it's like personal responsibility, but we have these giant mega corporations.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yes, but it'll
They're
be a
also
checklist.
they're
I'm sure.
also doing some things that aren't so great.
It's
so-
harder for people who are living in apartments to grow their own
Right.
food and meat.
Yeah,
right,
Like,
right.
exactly.
Well, and
It's
I
what
don't
change
know what
can you do? What-
recommendations
yeah.
she's going to end up making, but somebody kind of asks her about that, like, why are you in your book promoting like personal responsibility and personal changes that can be made versus like policy?
Right.
And she's like, policy kind of calls it bullshit. She's like, policies are just trying to tell everybody what they're supposed to do.
Right, yeah.
So why not, you know, make more of a movement?
What can
where,
we do?
where like, you know, people get excited and share with somebody else. Like, we're like, recycling tips, let's do this.
Yeah. But she does call it out, too. I mean, she
Yeah.
does say that a lot of the, recycling companies, they put the blame on, us, the consumer, that it's our job to recycle, but not necessarily their job to make
Yeah.
a recyclable product not all
Yeah.
the time.
Oh.
So,
it bugs me to
Yeah.
no end that plastic silverware is not recyclable.
right.
Like,
Exactly.
that would be like the easiest thing to
Yeah.
make recyclable.
I've seen bowls and plates and knives made out of corn.
Yeah, I've seen
Yeah,
little, like
just- yeah.
corn and
Yeah.
paper
Yeah.
stuff.
So they exist. They can exist. They're just not. I mean, I don't get them from any
Like,
place
yeah, they're
I
not, like,
get
widely
Grubhub
available.
from. Yeah.
Like, you can't get much more single-use plastic than that.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I do like it how now on a lot of the deliveries though it asks you,
Yeah.
do you need it? And it's always like, nope, I don't. I'm eating at home and I do have my regular silverware at home. So I like that they're asking
Yeah.
because we were just stockpiling and stuff like that, but we were
I was
going to
gonna
use
say,
it. Yeah.
I save them up for
Yeah.
if I need
Party.
to, if I have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
So
I brought them into the library too,
Yeah.
just in case we had something where it's like, all right, there's silverware here.
have you ever ordered takeout though, and it's like just for you, and they give you like 3 forks, and you're
Yes!
like, shut up.
Yes, I've gone to places where I've gotten so much ketchup. I feel like I could
Yes.
basically,
yeah,
you know what I mean, swim in a ketchup pool. And I'm like, I don't need all of this.
Not necessary. No.
Yeah. So yeah.
So the last little thing I want to share with you guys about Hope Jahren is when she totally took over the hashtag Manicure Mondays.
Oh, nice.
So apparently it was started by 17 magazine.
Okay.
this Twitter Manicure Mondays, and it was of people posting, you know, like their fingers done.
Right.
Clearly Manicure Mondays.
Oh yes.
Um,
My eyes blue.
so she saw this and posted a picture of her hands holding I forget what exactly it was now, but doing something sciencey.
Okay, sciencey.
Nice.
Got it.
With
Hashtag
the-
science.
with the hashtag Manicure Monday.
Like it. Yes.
So she encourages fellow scientists, specifically girls, to tweet pictures of their hands conducting scientific experiments.
Oh,
The idea
nice.
behind this was to raise awareness of scientific research and to increase the profile of women working in science.
Oh.
So she totally stole their hashtag.
Dude, we could even do that for the library where it's Manicure Monday, but it's your hands wrapped around a
book.
book. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, oh, that's lovely.
Do it. And I think somebody called her out, like, oh, was this elitist? And trying to say manicures are dumb, but I am a smart woman. And she's like, no.
You can have nice nails and do
variation.
science.
Yeah,
Right.
variation
Exactly.
on a theme.
She's even talking about how after that she started to see manicured fingers in the dirt. So
Yeah,
it's
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
It could be both.
Absolutely. So I think she's super cool, maybe even a reluctant environmentalist, but
Right.
somebody who's super passionate
But
about
rose to the-
living
to the
world and
challenge.
environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I'm super excited to finish her book.
Yay! Yes, the story of more
Join
is
me
our.
Thursday.
Yes, is our book club.
For book club.
Katie does an amazing job at book club. She's almost
Thanks.
getting sick of me saying this, but she does a great job. We talk about the book, which Kathy had actually brought somebody to book club, and she told her friend, "No, they actually talk about the book."
Which is as
So we
it should
do.
be.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, we catch up a little bit on what people
Yeah.
are up to, but generally we are
Yeah.
talking about the book and we're talking about the good, bad, and the ugly of it. But we, it's really quite fun. They've made us all think all of the books that you pick. So you're really good at this, girl.
Thank you. And I never want you to stop saying that.
Okay, good. I will say it all
Every
the
day.
time. It is my job as head cheerleader to encourage.
Do you guys have any questions about Dr. Jahren?
From Minnesota?
I don't have questions, but I opened up the Lab Girl book to a random page. And there's like just some random, like, I don't even know what this is about because I haven't read
super
it.
sciencey?
No, it's Bill paused and then commented briskly, "Well, rainbows are self-centered fuckers who need to get over themselves." I'm like, whoa! I'm like, I need to read this.
Bill is her lab partner.
Okay.
That basically, like, she could have stayed at Johns Hopkins, but they didn't have the funding to keep Bill, and she's like, we're a package deal.
Well, his opinion on rainbows.
Maybe you said, how old is she? Or
She was born in 1969.
okay.
Yeah.
There you go. So just, yeah, a little bit older than me.
But yeah, the University of Hawaii is where Alice Ball.
Yes.
Oh, yeah?
Which was your lady almost a year ago now. But you're Women of Science. Yes, exactly.
February.
Yes.
Yep.
Was it this February?
It was last February.
That's
This
what I
was
thought.
My
Okay, I'm
go-to woman of color in
Yes.
science is
Okay, there we
Alice
go.
Ball.
It feels
And I
like
already
a year
used her
ago.
up.
Because I know that we covered African American women in STEM this year,
Yeah.
but I'm like, I don't think Alice Ball was this year, though.
Nope.
I think it was last year. So,
Yeah.
see, look at that. The season 2 versus the season 3. Oh, how much has changed.
Oh, my gosh. We were recording that at your house.
Yeah, right? You remember that now?
Pre-COVID
Yes.
at your house before we had a library.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Remember the day